What'd he do?
Can you hear me, Fred?
That's a 10-4, and we're also live on YouTube.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for it.
Can anybody else hear me?
No.
Hello?
We'll come down this way. Feel great, man.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Sandy Martin's here.
Hey, Miss Sandy.
Hey.
Hey.
We're good.
Oh, we are?
4 minutes.
Okay.
We're good for time.
2 minutes? 3 minutes?
Got an issue.
It resolved itself.
I had dropped the ball here, and that was no big deal. It's backing up. You can start the other one to the other one back up. If this thing gets bumpy,
That was nothing. That was
No, that's what I need to read.
I was wondering.
Well,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'm going ahead and open the meeting up so you can proceed when y'all are ready in there.
Okay. I can, but.
spread out.
Like this spread out.
Yeah.
Is nobody's chair rubbing on yours,
Yeah.
making squeaky noises?
Here, how you doing? Good, good. Okay, hanging in there.
I did last time, but I'll do it here. I'll do it out here. All right. She's in
Oh, she's in a rough state today. We will see how she handles it.
Yeah, he's on hold. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Miss White.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You
you're
need
gonna do
to,
it
yes.
You know me?
We're ready.
Later.
Hey, can somebody go get him? If it's 6 o'clock.
Eric.
We're ready. Well, it's 5. Not now.
Oh, okay.
It'll be. We thought it was gonna have to wait a little bit. We're live.
Can you get through? I'm a fat boy now. Not like trying to get around in the shell.
Yeah. Okay, everybody ready? Want to call to order the Jackson County Board of County Commissioner meeting for May the 26th. If you will, please stand for the invocation and the pledge. Ms. Willanne Daniels.
Lord, we thank you for this opportunity once again to come together just with this elected body and to hear the items that are important to this community. I do pray for each and every one of them that they would use wisdom and just, Lord, be willing to follow your discernment in all the decisions made tonight. And that ultimately, God, they would be used to benefit our community and bless those that live here. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Daniels, do we have any additions or subtractions to the agenda?
We have one addition on your memo. It says to section 2, which it should be under section 2, public hearing, item B, request board review of staff memo regarding non-compliance of development agreement. And that is all the changes.
Okay.
Here, I move approval of the changes to the agenda.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Spires, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor, raise your right hand. All against, like sign, motion carried 5-0. Okay, consent agenda items. Has everybody had a chance to look over them, and do we have any questions?
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Peacock. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign, motion carried 5-0. Okay, Miss Sandy Martin, I think, is on the phone. Do you want to give us an update of the, from the health department?
Yes, sir, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Our total count today is 239 positive COVID in Jackson County. Of those, 12 hospitalizations, and to define that, hospitalizations is ever hospitalized during the current illness. We actually currently have 6 of those in the hospital now, but that 12 number will not go down because those people had been hospitalized at some point during this illness. The majority are male, 193 male, 39 female, and the median age is 48, and that's due, of course, to the outbreak we've experienced at ACI at the prison. Of the 239, 149 are associated with prisons, 51 are associated with long-term care facilities, and 39 are regular citizens who are not associated with one of the 2. We've ramped up testing in Jackson County, and so to date, we've tested 3,364, which is approximately 6.5% of our population. Our current percent positive is 7.1%, which is a little higher than the state. The state's currently at 5.7%, but if you recall, I said some time ago, we would peak a little bit later than the state, and that's held true. We have. But we are still under the desired under 10% rate. We're at 7.1% positive. I wanted to go over a little bit of our testing sites that we've done at the county health department and at some community churches around the county. We've done a total of 529 tests for come one, come all asymptomatic testing. No qualifications, no appointments. So we did 529. Of those, we identified 15 positives of the 529. 2 of those worked at the prison. 5 of those 6 of those worked at long-term care facilities, and 7 were citizens, all of which identified to be in contact with a known positive or a known sick person that we believe probably was positive but had not been tested prior. So that's it for my report today, and I'm open for questions if the board has any questions.
Okay, Commissioner Lockie has one, and then Commissioner Peacock. Go ahead.
Sandy, thank you for your report. Of the 239 cases you said we have currently in Jackson County, is that correct?
No, that's a tricky question. There are 239 cases that have been identified as positive. Of those, many may well no longer be sick. That number never goes down, and I know you're always interested in the recovery number, and I as yet do not have that definition. Therefore, I can't tease out that number for you. But we have identified 239 total people to have been positive at some time since we began.
Okay, and that's your 239 number. You had them broken down into male and females, 193 and 39?
Yes, sir.
Now, My math tells me that's, 232.
I get 149.
Oh, my bad. Let me tell you what that is. That's the difference between Florida residents and non-Florida residents.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there are 234 residents and 5 non-residents, and it's also possible I could have written the number down a little bit wrong. I'll double check that math, but yeah,
Not a problem.
it's broken down on our website between residents and non-residents. But to me, if they're here, they count. So I just report the 239.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Peacock?
Ms. Sandy, are you seeing any change in the number of positives that we're getting? And of course, but do you think we're about to hit the peak, or we hit the peak?
I certainly hope so, and that's speculation on my part to say whether or not we've hit the peak. It's coming along as I suspected it would, that we would come along a little bit behind the rest of the state. Certainly, we got to 239 with the help of the prison system, and so that certainly raised our number. So if we're looking at the number of citizens at 39, I think we're probably getting close, but again, that's just simply speculation on my part. It's going to take everyone continuing to do their part to stay 6 feet apart from people, stay home with their sick, wash their hands, and all those things that we've been saying. None of that can go away, or this number will simply continue to climb.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Spires has a question.
Ms. Martin, statewide, are we on an increase?
I didn't hear the question. Statewide, what?
Yeah, from a statewide perspective, are we on the increase in terms of the number of positive cases?
Well, in that we were hovering at around 3% positive, and now we're 7.1% positive. Yes, sir. I would have to say that we are on an incline right now. We have to pull out the prison system, that known population, and then the long-term care facility that we have involved now. Pull out that population, but still, certainly, we have climbed. The reason we have climbed so greatly in such a quick amount of time has been the institutionalized settings.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Any more questions? Ms. Sandy, thank you for your report. I know y'all been working a lot of hours there. I see it sometimes. Well, I see it a lot. But thank you for your report and your work.
And we were also going to open questions to the
I'm
public.
sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, Fred, do you have that? Any questions from the public?
All right. If there are any questions for Ms. Martin from the public, you can use the raise hand feature on your screen, or if joined via phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. At this point, I see no hands raised.
Thank you, Ms. Sandy.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to take the calls anytime. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, next on the agenda is item C, which would be Caroline Smith or Tiffany Garland.
You need to unmute Caroline. Her number ends in 667.
She's unmuted now.
Hello?
There we go.
Gotcha.
Hey, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to present before the board. So I'm Caroline Smith. I'm with the Appalachia Regional Planning Council. And I was asked to present to you today on the Competitive Florida Partnership Program and the Competitive Florida Partnership Grant, and for Jackson County to pass a motion as to whether or not they would like to move forward with an application to that program. So I thought I would just give you a bit of a background on the program, if that's all right, very briefly. So some of you may be familiar with it already. It's a grant from the Department of Economic Opportunity, so it's a state grant. No match is required. It's generally about a $40,000 planning grant, and it supports creation of an economic development plan. And so the idea is that this plan would work hand in hand with the vision plan that I understand you've been putting together this past year. And it would give the opportunity to drill down into more project-specific activities and to create a strategy for how to pursue specific projects that will achieve your larger goals and vision. So with that, the different components are typically, for one, community outreach and engagement, which of course might look a little bit different given the COVID-19 crisis, but it's still possible. So with that come public workshops and stakeholder workshops, as well as an asset mapping exercise, which typically involves working with DEO to bring different state and federal partners to Jackson County to see very specific sites that would have been predetermined to go visit, where state and federal partners can provide advice and suggest grant programs, suggest different partnerships or opportunities. And all of that knowledge and ideas culminates in the final economic development plan. The application deadline for this grant is coming up, but there's definitely still time to put together a successful application. The applications are due June 12th, so a couple weeks away. And I'm here to offer my assistance with putting together an application if the county is interested.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Peacock.
I make a motion we approve this request.
Second. We got a motion by Commissioner Peacock, second by Commissioner Lockie. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, item D, Sheriff Roberts.
This evening I come before you. Recently we asked for permission to apply for the Edward Byrne Justice Grant. That was approved and now needs a signature from the, I guess the chairman or the district. This would be for the lobbying, debarment, and drug-free workplace certification that we comply with those aspects of the grant.
How much is it for, Sheriff?
I beg your pardon?
How much is it for, the grant?
Don't remember exactly, around 30,000, I think. Is what it works out.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Spires. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item E and F, E, F, and G, Miss Christy Andreessen.
Good evening, board. How are y'all? My first request tonight is board approval of a digital marketing contract with Kerrigan Marketing. This would be for helping with our search engine optimization and other paid advertisements to direct people to either the Jackson County TDC Facebook page or our website, visit jacksoncountyfla.com. Right now, we're down about 70% in visitation to the website due to lack of a digital contract. And what our reports are showing us is that people really love our website and content that we've got on there. We just don't have a way to pull them from other areas. And as we emerge from COVID-19 in the coming months, it's going to be very crucial to the success of Jackson County businesses for us to have something out there to be able to appropriately market them to people traveling into the area.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve this request.
Okay. We got a motion by Commissioner Peacock, second by Commissioner Spires. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okay.
Thank y'all. My second item is a request for board appointment of Kelly Ziegler to the Tourist Development Council. On April 20th, at our regular board meeting, Jason Johnson announced his resignation to the board members. And on our regularly scheduled meeting, May 18th, the TDC board members voted to recommend Kelly Ziegler of the Lazy Acres Family Farm to fill his vacant seat for the remainder of his term. His term is set to expire September 30th, 2022.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Lockie, and I have no which one.
Second.
Commissioner Peacock, second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried, 5-0.
Thank y'all. My final one is another board appointment to the TDC board. On May 18th, Mark Panicella announced his resignation. So at that TDC meeting, we had discussion and the board members voted to recommend Misty Richards, the owner of Bistro Palms, to complete his term. His current term, Mark Panicella's current term, runs through September 30th, 2020, which is this year. At which time Ms. Richards would be up for reappointment by the BOCC.
You got a motion by Commissioner Spires, second by Commissioner Hill. He went that way this time. Well, I had you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda will be Ms. Tracy Taylor, item H.
Good evening. I'm requesting board approval of the bid for Spring Creek Boardwalk repair and replacement. At the board meeting on February 11th, 2020, the board granted the approval to initiate the RFP for the repairs needed on Spring Creek's Boardwalk due to the damage that was sustained during Hurricane Michael. We received 3 bids, with the lowest bid from Missy and Mossy LLC. The bid submitted is as follows. The base bid was $103,450, with an alternate that included the debris removal of $25,000. Alternate 2 was to replace all the posts, with a bid of $26,000, bringing the total bid $154,450. And this is a FEMA eligible project with an estimated reimbursement of $77,120.15. Also requesting that the board approve the use of the standard contract for professional services that was previously approved by the board and the county attorney for these types of services.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Lockie for discussion.
Tracy,
Yes.
on the scope of the work for the debris removal, is that for just the debris around the boardwalk? Or is that for that area around where the wooded area around on either side of the boardwalk?
I believe it is, repeat the first part of that, Mr. Lockie.
And Rhett Daniels is probably on the line also. He could speak.
Yeah, I was going to say he could better address this than I could, but I missed the first part. My phone cut out.
Rhett,
Yes, sir.
my question would be, how big of an area for the debris removal is this? 25,000, I think it said.
Yes, sir. It's just a 5-foot path just around the work areas. It's just enough area for them to be able to maneuver equipment around and, where they can dig new posts and set poles and haul the material in. It's going to be a minimal impact is what it was supposed to be, 5 foot or less.
So will they be just cutting the trees out of the way and hauling them up, or is that cutting the trees down and stumping and grinding that? What would that
No, sir. Essentially, it'll be a cut and toss. They won't be removing it from the project site. That way we won't have to track the debris and, reopen all the DEP sites and all that sort of thing. It'll just basically, they'll cut stuff, big cypress logs. There's a couple of trees out there that's falling all the way across the boardwalk that are, 3 foot or better. So there's some large pieces they'll have to remove, but it'll just be simply getting it out of their way.
And I hate to be picky about it, but how far down are the stumps going to be?
Well, they won't be grinding or any stumps. The stumps will be left. It'll only be a trunk or a tree limb.
Okay. So if a tree was snapped in half and they take the part that snapped off, they're going to leave the rest of it?
Yes, sir. It's not impeding their work.
For $25,000, they just.
Yes, sir. It'll be both sides of the boardwalk. I think it was 300 or 400 linear feet total. And there's some trees that, the top has snapped off. So there'll be some climbing involved to, get the tree down in sections. And then, like I said, there's some very large trunks that'll have to be removed as well.
Okay.
Rick,
Commissioner Hill?
aesthetically, how is that gonna look when we're spending 450, and I understand we're only gonna get reimbursed 75,000, what's that cost?
77.
Yeah, 77, so we're not even getting half our money back.
Well, then that depends on a couple things. So when I made the presentation back in February, I mentioned the need to have all of the posts replaced. And I tried to take some photos to have in your packet. I don't know if it made it in there or not, showing the rod on the top of the post where the top cap of the rail actually mounts. But that cost is not FEMA reimbursable. So alternate 2 is 100% cost, and then we'll be responsible for 12.5% of the main project and phase 1, or not phase 1, but alternate 1. So the debris removal is reimbursable up to 12.5%, as well as the main project.
So aesthetically, how is that gonna make that look when we leave it there? Like Commissioner Lockley said, a broke off tree is just gonna be dropped. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming most of these are cypress trees.
Probably not most, but some definitely are. Once you get further up the hill, it turns pine, and there's some oaks, and I mean, it's really just a mix of things.
Wait, is there any way we could get inmate crews in the future to do some more clean out there? I mean, it's one of our pristine, starting points for the county is, for waterways.
Yeah, we could, and we've looked at that avenue just to get everything done. And we tried to get, I don't know how well I remember it, unfortunately, but we tried to get Ceres to look at it as one of their projects. And they came in, spent about a day, and what they were going to be getting paid wasn't worth the amount of effort it was going to take them to do a good removal. And that was still only around the improved area where the boardwalk was, just to clear a path basically for construction. Outside of that, I mean, you're talking some pretty extensive removal, but it might be something inmate crews could help with. It may be something we could get something like a career source crew to help with. Either way, it's going to be very extensive. There'll be a lot of equipment and a lot of hands to be needed for something like that.
Okay.
One more question. For the base bid of 103,450, what does that give us?
Just the hurricane boardwalk repair. If you elect not to do the alternate 1, then we'll have to come up with an option in-house to remove the debris. We don't have any kind of timeline on that. We definitely don't have availability of inmates for an unknown number of months, whether it be state or county. And without that crucial element, no construction can take place. So my recommendation would be, at a bare minimum, do the main project and alternate 1 to replace the hurricane debris. The idea behind alternate 2 was to go ahead and have some carpenters and contractors, while they're in the area working and ordering materials, to go ahead and replace all the posts, so we won't have to have this problem later on down the line.
So all the posts are not damaged, or are they damaged? Are they going to replace the ones that are damaged?
Not all posts are hurricane damaged, but the majority are rotten. So they won't have anything to attach a new board to for a handrail. And it was part of the bid also that any new post would be coated on the top. It's primarily an issue where the top cap overlaps and water's been able to come through the overlap in the top board, and that's causing most of the rot. So essentially at the best case scenario, every other post, but in reality, it's actually far more.
So we're looking at, if we do the main project and option 1, so 128, 77, that's 23 and 28, $51,000. Where are we going to come up with the rest of the money?
Either contingency or line of credit.
Red, real quick, on those posts they're putting in, what are they treated? I know the ground contact's 4.40, but there is a saltwater treatment goes 6 times that, like 0.250.
Well, that part is going to be what's underground is going to be just the basic, I forget what it's called, the 440, whatever it was. What we've actually noted in the bid was to have the top of the post wrapped in some type of rubber or vinyl that would actually adhere to the post, and when it's got a screw run through it, actually pull that silicone or whatever down into the hole to help keep moisture out of it.
So you're more worried about the top cap than you are the actual all the time in the ground?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Well, why not both? Could we just get it treated a little bit?
Well, most of the posts are already treated, but we still had this problem at the top of it. So I'm not sure exactly when this was built, but seems to me the bottom where the post is in the ground is not near the issue that the top is.
How old is that wall? Do we know of a time lapse on it?
I would guess 10 to 12 years.
10 to 15.
Okay. We got a motion. Any more questions? Got a motion and a second on the floor to do all the, was it all of it? Is that what it was? The whole 154?
Yeah, it was, but now if we need to take some out because of money, issues, do we know, William, where the source may, again,
So we
continue?
have, at this point in time, contingency.
And there would be
I don't
there would be
have
no
another-
reimbursement, right, Red? For
That's
the-
correct. All two.
Reimbursable at this point.
So if you do the whole thing, it's gonna be about $77,000.
For us, yeah.
I know the contingency was getting low. Where are we at on that?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, because
Yeah, where we at on-
you asked that question while back.
Well, I just texted Danielle, she said she wasn't sure exactly where we're at.
I was thinking a few months back, it was around 200.
Okay.
Can we just do the 103, 450 and the 25,000 come back to the other, Red?
Yes, sir. We sure can. I wouldn't know what the cost would be, and that would be something, we could re-advertise later in the year or after the next budget cycle. I could put it in as a special project. I'd probably add a good 15, 20% to that figure, and I could just put it into my parks budget as a special project if you like.
Take that one already too. No, we don't know where we're at.
We didn't even say that you needed to replace the post in order to have something to attach. If you're gonna do the boardwalk, supplemental to rock post, you waste some money.
I agree with you.
So if you can't replace all the posts, you just do away with boardwalk. That's.
Okay, the motion is to do the whole, to award the bid to Missy Mossy for $154,450. The motion was by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Lockie. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0.
If I could also just add, there is actually a good chance that number will come down because this assumes we won't get the waiver from the state. If we do get the waiver, which likely we will, that number will be a little less out of pocket.
12% less, right?
Yes.
Well, my bad.
Yeah.
We're gonna
We need
be
to have-
every bit we can get. Okay, good deal. Thank you, Red and Ms. Tracy. Ms. Tracy, you're up next on I.
Yes, sir. Requesting board approval for the bid for Citizens Lodge roof and ceiling repair. This was a rebid. At the April 14th, 2020 board meeting, we requested the board reject the sole bid that we received for the roof and ceiling repair for Citizens Lodge in the amount of $217,000. Staff placed the project out for rebid again and received only one bid.
After review by GP Strategies, it's agreed that we have done our due diligence and request that the board approve the current bid from Acro Construction LLC of $147,357. We're also requesting that the board approve the use of standard contract for professional services that was previously approved by the board and the county attorney for these types of services.
What's the alternate for?
It's not. After I spoke with the engineer, or excuse me, the architect, that was carried over in his scope of work from the previous original bid, and it should not have been in there.
Okay, so what's our reimbursement amount on that 147,357?
Let's see. We had a net claim from insurance for $33,815. Depreciation, which can be recovered, is $46,594, which would be a total of $80,409.
Well, there should also be FEMA funds involved in
Yes,
that.
it's also eligible.
How much of that's eligible? Are we talking about 75% of that total amount, or the amount of subtract our?
He had that number in his, presentation the other day.
Pam, are you on the line?
She was going to call in. She said she was on here.
So general practice is the, obviously the insurance, I mean, the FEMA will not reimburse us the depreciation and or insurance claims. So we just assume that 80,405 subtracted off that, the remaining amount is possibly FEMA reimbursement.
If we've done our due
Correct.
diligence, yes.
That's correct.
What would that number be then? 75% of, off the bid, just north of 45,000?
Now, Pam, we're actually operating off of 90% on most of these projects, correct?
I don't think Citizens Lodge was in that. The 90% was on the debris, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But there was some money that was, it was in his report. It was in his report what what FEMA was gonna pay towards repair that lodge. What is that number?
I don't have that number right with me, but what I have is the insurance numbers. Hold on, I don't have that report.
What it looks like to me is we owe 67,000, we get possibly 90% of 67,000 roughly.
Going forward, we will include in the agenda item the insurance breakdown and the FEMA
Yeah,
number.
especially the closer we get to budget with contingency, no one
Right.
needs to be.
Okay.
Pam, if you want to find that number, we can come back to that item. in a
I
moment.
will. I'm getting it.
Okay, you want to just put that on, item on?
I'll
hold?
bring it back up.
Okay. Ms. Tracy, can we go ahead with item J?
Yes, sir. Board approval to initiate the RFQ and the ranking committee for Endeavor Autism Curriculum and Consulting Services. The proposed ranking committee is as follows: Dr. Willie Spires, Jim Peacock, Jim Dean, and Willan Daniels.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Lockie, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried, 5-0.
Okay?
Then we got one more, right?
Yes, sir. Board authorization to go out to bid for litter pickup in the county right-of-ways.
So move it, Chairman.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Peacock. Commissioner Lockie, you got a question?
Would you see that one of the bid packets goes out to JCARC?
Yes, sir. Sure will.
Twin Oaks was one of them too that we had.
Well, I mean, they do.
Right.
I don't know if they do it on that large scale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, I think they do, but yeah, it needs to go to. I think they do the rest areas maybe now.
Yeah, the rest
I'm not sure.
They need to.
Well, we need to make sure it goes out
Yeah.
there. Okay. Yes. Okay. That was you and Lockie, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay, we had a, motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Lockie. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, before we move on, Ms. Pam, do you have that number?
No, sir, I can't find it. Keep going. I'm looking.
I'll bring it up at round table if we don't.
I'll get you the number, Will Ann.
Okay.
Okay, so next on the agenda will be item L, and that'll be Mr. Rhett Daniels. Rhett, you got several.
Yes, sir. First off is a board approval for change order number 1 for Howell's Landing boat ramp. This change order is going to include an increase in price, out-of-pocket cost of $4,684. Total increase was $10,000. So there will be some additional funding coming from the grant from FWC, and the $4,684 will be coming from our vessel registration fund. This change order was due to the contractor actually purchasing a temporary dam for this project. So he's asked us to have the change order to offset the cost. This will allow him to put the dam in place, pump the water out, and actually pour the new boat ramp in place rather than to have the preformed slab slid in and anchored. It'll yield a much better product. Mr. Taylor, I'm sure, would agree. I haven't spoken specifically to him, but structurally, this will be a much longer, durable product.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Spires, second by Commissioner Hill. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0. Mr. Daniels.
Second up, I have a request for board approval, Jackson County Utilities Asset Management Plan. This plan was put together by the people at Florida Rural Water, as well as some help from All-Day Howell Engineering as part of our Indian Springs expansion. This asset management plan is a requirement per DEP, as we are applying for funding for additional phases from them in both grant and loan. The attached plan has a lot of information in it. They sent some field guys out, and we ended up spending about 3 or 4 days in the field. They went over every hydrant, pressure tested some, checked for functionality to make sure they actually had water to them, exercise valves. They looked over our water plants, made sure we were getting adequate water. There are several recommendations in here, primarily to have an increase in our rates by 3%, and also to rehab one of our water facilities to have some new pumps put in. We're not getting adequate flow out of some older pumps that we actually inherited from the Baptist College of Florida. So they're recommending to rehab those water wells with new pumps for additional water output for the expansion of Indian Springs. There is an attached resolution in the packet that we would also like the chairman to sign. This is a time-sensitive issue, as funding requests for funding for additional Indian Springs projects are due June 11th, and we will not have an additional board meeting between now and then.
That's your motion to adopt the resolution and approve the request.
Mr. Chairman.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Lockie. Mr. Peacock.
In reviewing this, and I've discussed this with Red, Section 3 on the resolution says that the utility will implement an automatic annual rate increase based upon the CPI or 2%. I think the board should reserve the right to review the rates and utilize this as a way to increase the rates if we deem it appropriate.
Not automatically is what you're saying?
Right. But I think based upon my conversations with a lot of the people, this is going to create problems for us. So I would, and now he said that this was not supposed to have been in the resolution, it got put in there. And he also indicated that we could change it. So I would vote to approve it if we change it to give the board the option, utilizing this technique to increase rates.
I have a question. You talking, it said 3%.
Two.
Two, right, but they wouldn't, was it? There wasn't
Red said
3%.
3, but it's 2.
Okay.
He actually came back and I got the updated one after this was due into the agenda. Once he received some additional information from finance and myself as far as our customers and our usage, he actually did increase it from 2 to 3% or whatever the, I forget the term, I apologize, but whatever the greater of the 3% or the consumer index was.
Mr. Lockie.
Question, Mr. Peacock. What kind of problems would it generate? You said.
A lot of the citizens are very concerned about these rates and the increases and everything, and automatic increases. But in looking at this and looking through it, we wound up with what, $164,000 in excess revenue in this account, right, Brett?
I'm sorry, I missed that part.
In reviewing the information in this packet, it indicates we wound up, I think it was like 164,000 excess revenue in this account.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to burden the citizens with this if it's not necessary. That's where I'm at.
And this review was broken down into 2 parts, if I can add, I'm sorry to butt in. This is a water only assessment. It does not count into our sewer for commercial or residential at all. This is strictly our water system. So that was the only recommendation that DEP had. They didn't dive into our sewer. We can request that, but this is strictly water. So there are some additional numbers that aren't input into this for our, as far as our personnel and our bills, as far as power and everything like that, they get split between the 2.
The current system that we had, the original system we had in place, we based it on whatever the current engineer at that time, I think it was David Melvin, his suggested rates. We went a while without doing any kind of rate increase, and we got caught behind the 8 ball. I think if we have some excess, or I don't know if you want to call it excess, but if we have some money, ought to go into a reserve account, because things break down, pumps tear up, and that we at least have, we need to have, and 164 sounds like a lot of money, but when you go to replace a $30,000-$40,000 pump, and you have you have some type of breakdown, we got to pull in our money to do it. And I think that if we could have some type of, and I think we did this not long ago with the original system, is have automatic increases alone.
We were in the red and we had to do something.
Yeah. And instead of going up all of a sudden a lot of money, you just have gradual increases that builds it up. And I think maybe after the first year, that we could look at it, but I still think there ought to be some periodic review of the rates so that we don't get.
You might have to go more than 2%.
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be annually?
Annually,
But
yeah.
this says 3% or 2% annually, like
Automatic.
automatic.
Well, what I'm
So
saying is,
don't do it
we may
automatic.
have to give us
Go
the
3 or 4.
option to raise it if we need to. Don't stick a number on there.
Once that's subject to review on an annual basis.
Yeah.
But subjective, you may think $180,000, that $180,000 is way a lot of money, and you may think that that's not enough money because one major breakdown. We need to make that system where it pays for itself, and then you build a reserve where you can have maintenance.
There is a reserve factored into this, if you read through here.
How much is it, I didn't read the term.
Brett, what's the reserve on it? I'll have to go back.
It's a percentage of your revenue. I'm wanting to say it's around 10 to 15% annually to keep. But Commissioner Lockie, to add to your point, just the rehab of well 2-3 that is recommended is $250,000, and that's just one instance we're dealing with right now. So, I mean, that's 2 years worth of our, leftovers, if you want to call it, already.
I do think that a reserve or whatever, have, that account, it's a set aside for anything that comes up that you need. It looks like a lot of money, but then, like Rick just said, $250,000 for pump repair. Then you gotta go into your general revenue to get the money.
I think we said something review on an annual basis by this board, and we can make the adjustments according to what the needs are.
Might need to be 4.
Yeah, my point is.
Or have an analysis done by somebody that knows how to look at numbers.
I think we're all agreeing, but just we're looking
I
at
just,
it a little bit.
you know, I don't want to see it in the resolution.
Yeah.
The way it's written, this binds us.
But just
So
change it where
automatic.
it's reviewed yearly.
Yeah. And I also make a point based upon what Lockie and Red said, why don't we just look at coming up at the same time, having that reserve a larger number, maybe $250,000, only be 160, whatever you said, what, 163? 164. Maybe we need to bring that up to a more larger number slowly, and then if something does come out, we got that little bit more buoyancy.
Well, right now, I think the system is cash flowing itself and
Right.
putting money in there.
Sure.
So why are we jumping out and raising rates without doing a review?
Well, don't the loan, Rick, what loan, where are those funds coming from for that loan on that?
It'll be DEP, State Revolving Fund. And this is a living document. I mean, this ain't a, said and done deal. We can absolutely ask Florida Rural Water to take that section out of the resolution. It is truly just a recommendation, and we can take that out.
Take that out and just
evaluate it.
we reviewed annually.
Be reviewed by the Board of County Commissioners annually.
You good with that?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, Commissioner Hill has modified his motion to include, take out the 2% automatic, to add that to be reviewed by the Board of County Commissioners annually.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Is that good with you, Commissioner Lockie? Because you was the second.
I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
and I also like to add, Red, just for my information, I'd like to see if you come up with a number, again, that is, maybe, again, with the numbers that we're dealing with that type of project, that we need to have maybe more of a buoyancy on that contingency inside that funding.
Okay.
Does it need to be 180, 163 or 164? Does it need to be 250 or whatever? But that's all.
You have to buy a pumper truck.
That's right. You're
Are
right.
we checking on the other system? We did have an increase yearly, but are we making sure that we're still?
You mean on the sewer?
See, the sewer, this doesn't include the sewer.
Right,
I know,
right.
that's
Right.
the city of Mariana.
I just had a question.
We live out by there.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Lockie. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okay? Red?
All right, just real quick on that last item, I will add, we just finished out a 5-year step increase. It ended this year. We enacted the last step in January 2020. So we're going to be kind of at a flat rate from now until any change is made. But obviously, I'll get some things together and we can evaluate that during budget time.
Is that on the sewer that I was speaking on?
Yes, sir. That'll be across both systems.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if you want to wait for the budget.
That much contingency.
And we don't have
The budget will be here, what, a month, and a half, 2 months?
Yeah,
Mine's due next Friday, so it'll be in there.
okay.
Make it 10.
You gonna have a suggested 5-year rollover like we did before? On 5-year increase plan?
I don't at this time, no, sir.
No, you'll present that at budget time?
Yes, sir. With a project list that, needs to be funded.
Okay.
All right, this next item is a request board approval of change order and final pay request for the Jackson Blue Springs Phase 1A Stormwater Restoration Project. This project has had its ups and downs. We decided to go ahead and split it into Phase 1A and 1B. 1A is completed. We've removed the terraced walls upside the hill coming from the diving board. And this request is to pay Whitaker LLC $230,060 out of the original contract price of $599,670. This will leave for Phase 1B $204,820, which the majority of that project will consist of the water side head wall. We'll do the drawdown, excavate the old wall, and then put in the new one. We also request to go ahead and release the bond of the contractor, as all materials have already been purchased and it'll be labor only in Phase 1B. And this will allow him to close out his bond and seek other work until we start back in the fall.
So moved, Chairman.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Peacock, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okay,
And lastly, for me, request board approval to reopen Turner's Landing effective immediately, and to originally said increase Blue Springs capacity to 50%, which is 750 people. But after some more information from the governor last week, I think we should go ahead and eliminate all restrictions for Jackson Blue Springs. That way we can preserve the pavilions and allow adequate space for, we have several summer groups that like to come out, and I wouldn't want to keep them from coming with their availability. If they can have camp, we want them to be able to come to our facility.
So moved, Chairman.
Second.
got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Peacock. Commissioner Locke.
You mentioned Turner's Landing in that too?
Yes, sir. It
The
was,
barriers that we had up at Turner's Landing have been torn down and moved. Sheriff, will you want to report on that, please?
Recently, we had the county place concrete barriers that you would recognize, several 100 pounds, 1,000 pounds, and signage preventing people from going in Turner's Landing because it's hard to regulate. Yesterday, the deputy responded, found that someone had taken those concrete markers, and not markers, but barricades, and actually slid them with a vehicle, allowing access to Turner's Landing. They also took the county road signs and the signs that said it was closed and threw them into the wooded area. He actually had the people removed from that location as best he could and kept a check on it and retrieved the signs out of the woods and reestablished it. I checked on it this morning. I took a photograph. If any of you'd like to see it, I can show you what little after we put the signage back up. But it's going to be a problem.
If we can find, the reason we put the barricades originally was so that vehicles didn't go all the way down into the water. You could go down there many times and see these raised up pickup trucks, kind of like his, and but not him. And you'd see them parking in the water, and it prevented a lot of people from actually using.
It was dangerous.
It was, yeah, and from using it. The barriers were not to keep the people out. The barriers were to keep the vehicles out further. And we placed them where people could still park and walk between them or go to them. We just need to find a better way to skin that cat.
Well, these barricades that I'm referring to were further up and to prevent people from actually going to the parking area. And because the congregation, there was supposedly not supposed to be people greater than 10 in a number. As you've seen on television, not everybody adhered to that. There's a lot of alcohol consumed, and we were constantly dealing with issues at Turner's Landing. that was actually placed there to prevent people from using that landing, just simply because it was very difficult to police that. And
Was that about halfway down on the straightaway to the creek?
if you notice where the road narrows as you're going out of the parking lot, or actually where it goes into the parking lot, there's a driveway to the south, goes to a residence there. The barricades were there. I had the photographs if you'd like to see it.
Maybe we could reestablish something there so that we keep the vehicles from going down there.
There's a surveillance.
I think there's some guardrail.
The
I think there's guardrail down there close before you get to the water. They
there
haven't
was
removed
concrete.
that.
There was concrete markers where they actually was a parking area where we were having a lot of problems.
Red.
Yes, sir.
Didn't there used to be guardrail across there? You had to step over it to go down to the water? Sure.
I'm not familiar with guardrail. We've had the concrete we've always called them K barriers, and they are keeping people in the parking area and not driving down to the water. We were actually able to take a backhoe and we took 2 of those and moved them up the road that way to keep people out of the parking lot, essentially closing the park down due to COVID concerns. But unfortunately, those attempts have failed. They have made it down. Basically, there's been people down there all weekend. I do realize it was a holiday weekend and it was closed, but we've had signs up. Signs have been stolen down there. The barricades have been forcefully removed. I mean, we're kind of running out of options aside from just absolute constant policing.
I had something I want to bring up at the round table, but while the sheriff's here and Red's here too, getting complaints about the garbage left on Spring Creek in the river, and then also the parking at Magnolia there across from Bear Paw. And I know it's an issue every year, but I think maybe we need to look into, I don't know what the answer is. Ever since we've been on this board, or me and Erica, it's been an issue, but I know there's been groups try to clean things up, but I seen pictures today on Facebook, and it wouldn't, some of that stuff wasn't the normal stuff. It was boxes where they had floats and all that stuff.
I think in looking at the photographs that I took, I didn't go all the way down to the water, but that may be where those photographs were taken, where people actually opened the boxes and then
Just
allowed people to go from that location.
Right. Well, we need to look into it, and
Is there a dumpster there?
There were some garbage cans,
Or
but
garbage cans?
usually
Something
they'll
they can
take them, tear the garbage cans up.
I know.
And they're the same ones that's littering our roads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also placed at one time, when Mr. Hatcher was here, he placed disposable bags for people to use. That didn't work.
Right.
So,
I got a call, Sheriff, and this may have been several years ago when first on the board, but I'm understanding there's possibly someone telling people to park in our parking spot and fills it up there where nobody can get in, is charging to shuttle them to the north end. So, I mean, I was told $10 a piece, and then they were, I mean, I don't know how the policy, some maybe a question from our attorney, is that, you know, if we got someone that's, you know, cramming our parking lot that's already being probably overwhelmed even more, local people can't get in there with their own boats, they can't do anything, but then the profit off of our parking lot, I don't know where that lies on the legal side, but.
yeah. Well, I know that in the past, we've discussed that particular landing, and it was never designed for the amount of usage it's receiving now.
Doesn't the Mock family own that part and they lease
They
it?
did
That's
it one
actually
time.
leased to FWC, is it not?
They
I
did
think
it one
we
time.
actually looked at possibly getting some more property there from FWC or somebody.
The War Mock, they own that, or the Mock family?
There's an individual that owns some of those lots. It floods.
Right.
But, you know, when the river floods, it floods, but it can be used. In fact, we tasked staff to look into getting a grant or something to purchase that land from those individuals.
I know we did that at Turner too, 'cause we got, I think Red used to on the phone.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we did what Commissioner Luckett did on Turner. Can we apply for that same thing if we hadn't already, for the one in Magnolia?
That only works with a willing seller. And I did reach out, Ms. Mock was the last person that I looked at that owned it. And I did, so she owns it. A portion of it is, I guess, leased to FWC. And then we just kind of manage it as far as, you know, lawn maintenance and garbage and stuff like that. But it's very small. I mean, it doesn't even half an acre at best.
Well, the business across from the boat ramp, he has parking for there. But, and I think we can do this legally, is designate that boat ramp for boat trailers only.
Well, I know this.
Because what's happening is overflow crowd.
Yeah, well,
He's directing them over there.
I know the landing itself is, the surface is dirt, and of course, you know, people parking every which direction. Secondly, that is our only point of getting into the river, sometimes going north for rescue. We need an ambulance, and we've had several serious injuries on the river.
And Commissioner Locke, you're right on that. But what about the people who put in, not on Bear Paw, up in Spring Creek, and they've got to get out somewhere. So that's where they get out of the river.
I'm just thinking, Sheriff Wright,
I know there's an overflow from Bear Paw. We know that.
and they do that on our lot at Spring Creek.
And
too.
well, they line the road, yes, with vehicles. So
Yeah, how did that work on Memorial Day, Sheriff? Do you remember how that worked out? Did he reports on the road? I know that staff had them put out the no parking signs along Magnolia Road because it was getting so congested.
I didn't ask how that turned out. They were so busy on Monday that,
well, I want to bring it up, and since we were talking about them, where we can start looking at, see if we can find an answer. I asked somebody today, well, what's the answer? And they said, well, I don't know what the answer is, but it's an issue. And so we need to be looking.
if the parking area that's on the north side and on the east side of the river was on the south side, you could probably have some type of walkway over, but it's a very dangerous crossing over it. You cross over the bridge and you cross over the lanes of traffic, which people don't slow down. So it is a dangerous situation.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve this request.
We already got one.
We already got a motion.
We got a motion and a second, yes. We're just discussing. Yes, okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Thank you.
All right, so Turner's is back open.
Yes.
Is there a way you can find a way to put those barriers back?
Well, they're still on the roadway. All they did was slide them to the side on the county road.
Road and Bridge will have to go and move.
They're gonna have to move them,
Yeah.
and we'll just do the best we can with enforcing the,
Yeah, I don't mind, I'm all for people using it down there, but it's got, in the past few years, people have abused it.
that's what was happening yesterday.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I've been brainstorming this issue. I mean, it's one of those things that comes up every year. A couple of options we may have that will help. I would never say eliminate some of our issues on the Spring Creek and Chipotle River, but in an ordinance that prohibits all disposable containers would be a good start. If someone wanted to take, drinks out there, they'd have to put it in a water bottle or something like that. That'll eliminate a lot of the used cans and bottles and whatnot. And then that's something that I've seen pretty common on many other similar areas. Rainbow River is one of them, and all throughout the state, that's pretty common. We could also require all tubers, kayakers, or whatever to use a livery service, which is essentially what Bear Paw is. And that way it would cut down the public use. Now, we could still utilize our public areas, just require a concessionaire to operate the shuttle back and forth. And that way they can make sure they have the adequate vessel. A lot of the tubes that you buy at Walmart for $5, it can't make it down Spring Creek and Chipotle River. And that's a large portion of the debris that's left behind. You make it halfway and your tube pops. Well, you just get out and leave it. And that happens quite often. those are just a couple of options we may have when the time comes, but we'll definitely keep researching and keep the board abreast of what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Red.
He's got a point about the, containers. I mean, continues is, you know, we, it's our obligation to try to take whatever measures we need to try to stop it or slow it down.
Okay. Ms. Daniels?
Yes, this is a request for board approval to waive the rental fee at the Ag Complex for the Chamber of Commerce to host an educational political forum on Tuesday, July 14th.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion by Commissioner Peacock, second by Commissioner Lockie. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okay, do we have the numbers? You want to go to the round table on that? Okay.
Yeah,
I was talking about the numbers
I'll just bring it up
okay.
at the end.
Okay, public hearing. Oh, do we have a queue? No. No. Okay, we'll go into public hearing at this time.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
This is a request for approval to construct a 260-foot wireless telecommunications tower on property leased by Larry and Carolyn Baggett to be located on the west side of Highway 71 South, approximately 0.74 miles south of Mission Road. The property owner is requesting a variance to the Jackson County Wireless Telecommunications Facilities, Section 74-448B6. They're requesting not to be required to have a landscape buffer around the equipment, shelter/cabinets, and the base of the telecommunications tower because the tower is in the middle of a field. The applicant is proposing an 8-foot chain link fence surrounding the tower. On May 18, 2020, a public hearing was held by the Planning Commission, who recommends the approval of the general development order to the board. Planning staff recommends approval as based on the available information provided with the conditions found in the staff report. The potential motion is requesting approval of a general development order to construct a 260-foot wireless telecommunications tower on property leased by Larry and Carolyn Baggett to be located on the west side of Highway 71 South, approximately 0.74 miles south of Mission Road, which includes conditions and a landscaping variance, requesting permission for the chairman to sign.
Okay, you have a question?
You said the planning commission did approve the variance. I don't have a question.
Okay. Okay, Fred, do we have anybody on the line for or against this request?
Just a reminder to anybody on the line to speak, to use the raise hand button or dial *9 to speak. At this point, I see no hands raised.
Okay. We'll come out of the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve this request.
Okay. Got a motion by Commissioner Peacock or Commissioner Spires to be second. All in favor?
So one question, how will that, I know, I understand the thinking because the tower's in the middle of a field. So how will that affect any of our other development orders that we have that are in the middle of a pine tree where they cut out? Say, what do we do on that?
Well, you do set a precedence when you approve variances. And I think the general rule is to approve variances that have minimal change.
That's fine. I'm just asking. How will that affect other development orders that come in for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okay. Miss Wendy,
Yes, sir.
do we need to, yes, we need to go back into the public hearing.
Shall I go ahead and read the agenda item?
Yes.
Requesting board review of the staff memo that you were given today and the notice of emergency public hearing to revoke the development order for non-compliance delivered to Brandon Buckles, doing business as 10 Buckle Ranch LLC.
Okay. Do we have, yes, anybody here for or against? Please come up and state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Blackwell. I am against this, obviously. The permit, with the last time we were here, the permit was for him to build the 10-foot berm. It has not been built. He come out there a couple of days, attempted at it, stopped, has not done anything else to it. Went ahead and done the big event on February 29th, had hundreds of people there. I mean, went past 7 o'clock. You, Mr. Hill, asked that he stop at 7 o'clock. He said he would. It did not. It was going on past 9 o'clock. It kept me up. So I have video proof of this. So like I said, to me, he is in clear violation of the order that y'all give him. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have? Can you stay in? She's in the back. Yeah. Do we have somebody else in?
Is anybody
To
coming
come.
with him?
Okay, Fred, do we have anyone? Sir? Fred, do we have anyone online to speak for or against this matter?
Okay, just once again, another reminder, you may use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen, or you may dial star 9 to speak. At this point, I see no hands raised.
Okay, Ms. William?
I was just going to, if it's okay, give a little overview of the memo, mostly for the public that may be listening. We did receive a complaint on Friday afternoon about an advertisement, at which time we reached out to the attorney. She advised us that we could notify Mr. Buckles of a potential violation. At least it appeared to be a violation of the development order at that point in time. And so a deputy did deliver the notice of violation or the advertisement for this public hearing to Mr. Buckles. And so there's several issues listed in the memo that are not met in the development order to date. And so I actually did speak to Mr. Buckles today and explained that if there was going to be changes to his development agreement, the board would have to approve those. And so we have to operate off of what was agreed to. And at that point in time, there were a couple of things, the hours of operation, the berm, and then there was some advertisement of camping spots, which was not approved in the development order. And so that's where it stood today, that and staff is recommending that the board give Mr. Buckles 30 days to comply or to present a different proposal entirely.
So,
Okay.
go ahead. William, now in your speaking to him, I mean, he obviously acknowledged some of these, understand?
He did.
Okay. So, no reason for why he did it, just apologies?
Well, he said that he felt at the meeting the night, he felt pressured to agree to certain things that were not feasible, the berm size and hours of operation. And
But
so
he agreed to them that night.
he did, which I said we have to operate off of what was agreed to.
So is he understanding that the compliance will need to come before?
Yes,
he can?
and he did send an email indicating he was going to withdraw, but then after speaking with him, I was unsure, so I said, well, this is what we're going to recommend. I don't know what the board will do, but you'll need to contact community development.
The night that we approved it, or got approved, I asked the attorney if he didn't meet any of the conditions of the development order, which nobody pressured him to make those statements or decisions, okay? That was, he volunteered those himself. He wanted to be a good neighbor. He wanted to, be a good citizen in the community. And I asked the attorney the question that if he didn't meet any of those conditions, could we revoke or rescind his development order? And she said yes. So at this time, I'm prepared to make a motion to rescind that development order, at this time.
We're still in public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that motion will stand.
I have a question. Ms. Daniels, you said this came up Friday. How did we learn of this?
I received a notification, some pictures from a citizen of the screenshots of the event
Was it an advertisement
on
for it?
Facebook,
And what,
which is in your packet also.
so he was advertising a big event?
Right.
Okay.
That would be Exhibit C.
I'm gonna look at it. I think the night he was here, me and him had a big discussion about the 10-foot berm and how much dirt it was going to take.
How big the bottom would have to be.
And he said he had a contract for the storm, and he had a lot of dirt.
That's a big.
Okay.
Did he, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
William, did he feel like that he could have, obviously without the, let me get my notes here, camping, which he has not been approved of. He
Right.
wants camping to go through the same process.
Right.
And then that was public, and that stated, but besides the hours of operation, and the berm was only 2 violations he had this time, correct?
Well, now the hours of operation did not technically get a chance because according to him, he did not have his events this weekend. Now, Ms. Blackwell says that they were out there. I can't say confirm or not. At this point, it's the berm.
But it's my understanding, though, he had an event. A month or two ago,
In February.
in February,
Yeah, February 29th.
he had an event that he was under that development order that he hadn't complied with. And it went beyond 7 o'clock.
Well, again, I think it's obvious that we set the boundaries, our community development. He agreed to it. The neighbors had the right chance to make their pleading case, but as long we felt that at the time, I believe, if he filed, that he complied with that, he adhered to that, and as Commissioner Lockley rightfully said, it wasn't nobody pressuring him to agree to the thing. He willingly said that he wanted to be that good neighbor, and
Okay. Anything else on this? Okay, at this point, we'll go out of the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd offer a motion that we rescind the development order and send Mr. Tim Buckles, is that his name?
Brandon.
Brandon Buckles.
Brandon, I'm sorry.
Tim Buckles.
Yeah,
Tim Buckles Ranch, care of Mr. Buckles.
Yes.
Send him a notice by certified mail.
second. Is that for the 30-day recommendation, Commissioner?
He can come back, it's just to rescind it. I mean, that's what the attorney said we could do, we didn't meet the condition.
He meets conditions, and he can come back. I second that motion.
Okay, I got a question. We rescind it, he just starts over and goes through the process. That compared to the 30 days meeting that, what's the difference?
It's just going to be a totally new process. He would start from the beginning, apply new, submit all of his paperwork, new site plan. I mean, some of it may be exactly the same, it just may be copying it. As opposed to the 30 days was to give him a period to say, you've got 30 days to comply. That's the difference.
Can I ask you one question from a time lapse? Now, if he got all of his ducks in a row from starting tomorrow, and he wanted to comply and make sure these were complied with, I'm excluding the camping, because if he included that, that might be different, I don't know. But if he wanted to, is there a way that he can do it in less time if he so chooses to adhere to the policy?
Well, I think the only major issue is the berm. I don't know how long that
Oh,
will
yeah,
take.
no, I'm fine with it. I'm just saying, I just wondered if there was a way, if he got his ducks in a row and did what he's supposed to do, I think that he'd be in operation sooner than later, but he needs to comply
But
with what we
not
said.
if y'all rescind it. So if y'all rescind it, he'll have to start over.
He's had, what was the date of the development order?
July 28th was when, January 28th was when.
January 28th, he's
Oh,
had
yeah, no, I agree with you.
30 days to
Yeah,
do what he needed to
my,
do.
my point is that he needs to get stuff done that he agreed to. We're not asking him to do no more than he agreed to. And I wish him well, and I wish his business would prosper, but we met, he said he would meet the conditions of the board, and the board agreed with that, and we passed it, and he's not done it. So until he gets those ducks in a row, I think he needs to start over and get stuff done right and move forward with his business.
Commissioners,
Yes.
the current general development order is to hold ATV, UTV, mud racing, open mud play activities, and trail riding for public use on his property, subject to the development agreement conditions.
And that's good. I understand he did good, but.
Now, let's just say he wants to have the camping. He would have to come back and go through the same thing?
He would, let's just say that he had complied with everything currently, but he would come in and he would do an amendment to his development order.
And go through them.
So he would add it basically. He wouldn't start over. I mean, it would still come back before the board because you're changing an agreement with the Board of County Commissioners at that point. But it's not as cumbersome as starting from the very beginning.
Well, I'm for business, but then too, he needs to do what he says he would do. And that's where I think he's forced the board to this situation. So I hope he, I got a feeling
The Dodgers gonna be cranking tomorrow?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's his,
But-
that's his decision.
That's right.
But,
That's his decision. I agree. Oh, yeah.
Me
absolutely.
sitting on this board, I'm for business and, but you've got to do what you say you're gonna do. So I just want to put that in there. So we have a motion to rescind the, development order in a second. Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll send him a letter or contact you.
Certified mail, probably.
Certified. Okay? Okay? We're now into Mike Taylor, Community Development.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Requesting board approval for the code enforcement dumpster program. The dumpster program was created in an effort to assist residents that are physically and financially unable to clean up properties so that our citizens may come into compliance with our county code of ordinances. The program consists of volunteers willing to offer their time and equipment to help those in need. There's a slideshow here that Ms. Schlesinger helped me put together. I'll just briefly go over the highlights here. The program is for individuals that are physically and financially unable to meet compliance. Property must be located in the unincorporated areas of Jackson County. Residents must have received a notice of violation letter from code enforcement. Code enforcement will conduct site visits, review the required information, and determine applicant eligibility for assistance. The applications will be signed and reviewed by a community development director, county administrator. Homeowners must be on site and participate in cleanup if physically able. We would like to use Jackson County recycling trailers for items that can be recycled. Next slide, please. Program criteria. The Jackson County Code Enforcement Dumpster Program is a means of assisting Jackson County residents who, due to limited financial resources and or physical limitations, are experiencing difficulties in correcting a violation of the code of ordinances. All work will be completed by the homeowner and or community volunteers and must meet eligibility for volunteer assistance. Give an example of who might be eligible. Individual recipients must have received a notice violation letter in reference to solid waste nuisance violation from code enforcement. To be eligible for assistance, recipients must own their home in which is located in the unincorporated areas of Jackson County and meet at least one of the following eligibility criteria. Senior citizen 60 plus, or a person that is physically unable, disabled individual, spouse, or family member. They must have a yearly income at or less than 120% of the annual median income of Jackson County, determined by HUD. Commercial businesses, commercial contractors, apartment complexes, and rental properties are not eligible for this program. Kind of gives a description here of how to apply. Next slide, please. So far, I've reached out to several volunteers or people that's willing to help these people in need. The volunteers will be vetted before assisting approved applicants. They may be on the committee and they agree to the program guidelines. And so far, I've got Mr. Gary Gokenauer from Mariana Metal, which would provide dumpsters for the program. He would actually bring it to the site and pick it up at no charge. Chris Smith, myself would help with lawn service as far as cutting grass, those things. Mr. Glenn Scher, he's helped in many ways already. Time and equipment for debris pickup. Mr. Eddie Bowden, same. I've contacted the manager of Mahindra Tractor. They were on board with the program, willing to donate their time and equipment or donations. Mr. Wesley Hatcher, he's willing to tow vehicles out of the way or remove them. Mr. Hill, Hill Tree Service, he's helped in a few ways already. And Waste Management may provide dumpsters, and we're waiting on information from them on the reduced dump rate fee. Next slide, please. These are some of the cases that I've already worked and some of the volunteers that assisted these individuals. Next slide. I believe that's Mr. Glenn Scher there. He had actually went and bought a tractor and a dump trailer to help with this program.
Make sure they get recognized, Mike.
Oh, yes, for sure. Next slide, please. And if you've ever been down Old US Road and you saw the old mobile home sitting there, well, it's gone.
There's several others around.
There are.
To take its place.
I'm working on it.
Old US Highway 90.
Next slide, please. Next slide. And I think, the next slide, Joe. And we went through and created an application, program application, and we've created an application for the volunteers, permission, private property permission form agreement, an income, employment verification, and Miss Wendy, she knows a lot about that. She had put that together for me to verify that they would qualify for the program by this information that they provide. Questions?
Taylor, I would like to thank you for coming up with this program. I think it's an excellent idea and it's long overdue, and hopefully we'll get a lot of people to participate in it. But like Commissioner Hill said, we need to make sure that these people who are putting money into it and time, they get recognized.
Exactly.
And get some publicity for their service.
Well, I noticed
I think it's a great idea. Let's go forward.
Yeah. Well, I noticed whenever I started this position almost 2 years ago, dealing with some of these individuals in the county, that no matter if I gave them a ticket or whatever the case was, they were just unable physically or financially in some cases to correct the violation. And it's not that they didn't want to, it's just they didn't have the means to do it.
Okay, Commissioner Lockwood.
don't agree with Commissioner Peacock many times, but yeah, I think.
That's by design.
Work it out, work it out.
But I do appreciate you trying to do something for the, citizens of the county that can't help themselves. I got a couple little questions about, you're gonna have a third party do some verifications and all. Are you gonna be the third party? You've got experience in doing that. Okay, that's fine. And who's gonna guard that information? You will? Y'all will?
Yes. And I think, Ms. Michelle, she had reviewed all the documents, and, I think everything was good.
And I think on the same baseline as they do, and we talked the other day when you called it about this is an honorable way to handle our citizenry that can't afford it. I remember years ago, Sheriff, you might can attest it, there was a big debate amongst the law enforcement community that when you write a ticket to a lady or a father of children in the back that had no car seat, and you fine them $140, $50, $60 for it, but they don't have maybe money to buy one, then what are you gonna do? You're gonna find them again? Now they can get money to buy it. So this is kind of like the same thing. We got people in our community that doesn't have the means to it and do that. And I also think, as we spoke the other night, that we can reach out because our church, a religious-based organization during the hurricane was A+. And there was organization within that from every denomination that I can name, a lot that I can't name. So I think reaching out to those, because there's still a lot of people that from out of state that come, spring breakers sometime would come and spend a week for, helping us and stuff like that. Because this could kind of morph again to something else that's larger that helps, a lot of people that we may be limited to because of our numbers, but I think it's a great project and we're doing.
Well, and that's what I'm hoping for. Sure. And like I say, and I'm going to hold the property owner accountable. I mean, I think it's only fair that if we go out there as volunteers, putting our time and effort into it, that, when they sign that form, they're agreeing to maintain it from here on out. It's not always a free ride. And, and I do have different methods and ways of going about getting things done, but it works. And that's what the main goal is to get these things accomplished and resolved.
I hope this process works out for you as far as the verification forms and that. It might be, and I'm thinking you might be coming back to us to streamline that procedure just a little bit. But we'll see how that goes. I mean,
Okay.
I'm for it on its face value, and we'll go from there. I think that's a lot of forms for somebody to fill out. But I hope it's not overkill.
Well, we hope to, and I know Ms. Wendy had mentioned this, and I've addressed the concern also, because I know the individuals I deal with sometimes, it's hard for them. So we're going to assist them with that to get those things filled out. And, not everybody's going to qualify.
Right.
And but we're hoping to help as many as we can and hope to build off of this and for it just to keep going from here.
One more question.
Okay.
I promise. I know we have other places in this county, in the unincorporated areas that's it's been a good long, almost 2 years now. And I've seen some progress and I've seen not so good progress. How are you going to address those that have the ability to do that?
I'm going to put my cape on. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm doing everything I can to try to get things done. And I think with this program, I think that's going to be a big help with some of these cases that I've been sitting on and trying to work with. And hopefully we can get that taken care of.
If you get one in each commissioner's district, you could have them come out and do a work day.
Yeah. I'll start with yours
first. Start wherever you want.
But it's an idea that, and I'm glad
My wife will be there quickly.
and I'm glad this is, I was able to come out here and tell you about the program.
I just wanted a chance to thank Mike publicly. He came to me, I don't know, right after the storm, and we were knee deep in debris, and he said, I've got this idea about a dumpster program. I think he even called it that early. And with very little information to go on, that I just said, sounds great, go do it, Mike. And so with very little direction, really for me, he has stayed the course, and him and Wendy have come up with the forms, and I mean, I don't know if y'all really appreciate, that's a lot of work that went into this.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a lot of work that's gone into meetings with the volunteers, a lot of work going back and forth with legal on this. And so really just want to thank you for staying with it.
Thank you.
And I think it's going to be a wonderful thing for the county.
Well, I appreciate everyone y'all's support and supporting me and trying to get what I need done.
Well,
And, you know, if you can think of another name for the program, but like I told Mr. Hunter Potts, if it's a pig and you dress it up, it's still a pig.
You're right. I want to thank you not only for this, but you've got a tough job in the county. And I know we've worked on a few things, and it's not an easy job. I'm glad you're doing it.
Yeah.
But, okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve this request.
Okay, got a motion? Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Peacock, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0.
Go forward.
Thank you.
Good deal. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Miss Wendy.
Commissioners, I have an update on the 2020 Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, referred to as the AHAC. And we have a request for a locally elected official to be approved as a member due to changes from House Bill 1339. It's already time for the AHAC to reconvene. Seems like it was just yesterday, but that was 2017. And it's time for the 2021-2024 Local Housing Assistance Plan to be renewed. And Hunter Potts, the Housing Grants Coordinator, and Emerald Coast Regional Council, the SHIP administrators, will host the meetings. Effective July 1, 2020, House Bill 1339 implements changes to the LHAP and the duties of the AHAC. The AHAC committee is required to perform specified revised duties annually instead of triennially if more than $350,000 in program funds are received. Our next allotment is $350,000. That probably will come towards the end of the year. Effective October 1st, 2020, the AHAC must consist of at least 8, but not more than 11 members. And the Florida Housing Finance Corporation will operate the newly formed Affordable Housing Catalyst Program. They offer training and technical assistance. One locally elected official is now required to be a member of the AHAC. And the Catalyst Program will hold biannual regular workshops for locally elected officials. A penalty exists if the locally elected official or designee fails to attend 3 consecutive regional workshops, and the Florida Housing Finance Corporation may withhold funds pending attendance of the next regularly scheduled biannual meeting. The Housing Grants Division is requesting a volunteer or a nomination of a member of the Board of County Commissioners to participate as a member of the AHAC.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we approve our esteemed colleague, Commissioner Hill, to this position.
Second, twice.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Raise your right hand. All opposed? I think you voted for yourself
Let
too.
me ask this question.
Yes, sir.
Was this premeditated? 'Cause,
Not on my part.
I didn't, when you come out here, we have a nominee for a local one, okay.
His head was going like this. Motion carried 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, so I can fill his name in on the bottom
I
where
think
it
we
says
can.
Elected official.
So-
Can't miss meetings.
You get fined, or was it fined?
The money, the funding will be withheld
Sometimes
until the 3rd.
sometimes they say that the only time people get first is if everybody steps back. I just felt this way right now.
Hey, we all get it. Okay, Miss Wendy. Next.
Okay, so this is a request for approval of the 2020 Affordable Housing Advisory Committee with permission for the chairman to sign. As mentioned, it's time for the AHAC to reconvene for the recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners for the triennial report and the upcoming 2021 to 2024 Local Housing Assistance Plan. 5 existing members will continue to volunteer and 4 new citizens have joined the committee. Representatives must fill at least 6 of the required categories, and this year 8 are selected. A locally elected official must be included in the committee. At the time this was submitted, we did not have the name yet, but now we do. Affordable housing is very important to the community during our recovery from the recent disasters of Hurricane Michael and COVID-19. We are proud to announce the list of concerned citizens willing to volunteer as a member of the AHAC. And if I may, I'd like to read out those volunteers' names.
Okay.
Miss Debbie Moxley, First Federal Bank of Florida, filling the banking or mortgage lending industry. Gerald Goss, U.S. Mobile Home Sales of Florida, engaged in labor of home building. Joelle Roberts, Florida Showcase Realty, a for-profit provider of affordable housing. Jan Pollard, Jackson County Planning Commission, actively serving on the local planning committee. Kenny Griffin, Workforce Development, a citizen who represents employers. Anita Holling, North Florida Inland Long-Term Recovery Group, advocate for low-income persons. Mike Ubias, USDA Rural Development, banking or mortgage lending industry. Michael Jones, Trinity Powerhouse Church, citizen residing in the jurisdiction. Not-for-profit provider of affordable housing is Mr. Kobe Beasley with Chipola Baptist. And a citizen residing in the jurisdiction is LaDon Clemens, Indian Springs Real Estate. And I am proud to announce our elected official is Commissioner Eric Hill.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Hill. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Peacock. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now I have a request for approval to set a public hearing for a small-scale amendment. This is for a proposed land use change from Ag 2 to Industrial 1, located on a 9.78 acre site, approximately 1.8 miles east of Highway 231 on the northeast corner of Highway 162 and Holy Neck Road in unincorporated Jackson County, Florida.
Okay. What's the pleasure?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we got a motion to set a public hearing. What's the date?
June 9th.
June 9th at 9:15.
Thank you.
Motion by Commissioner Peacock, second by Commissioner Lockie. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Apostle Johnson, are you on the line?
Yes. Yes, good evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
God, Yahweh, sent me before the county commission requesting free counseling for the public on a volunteer basis, granted to give me space to use once, twice, or 3 times a week.
Okay, sorry, Ms. Apostle Johnson, no action tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Fred, do we want to go ahead and open it up for public comment or question?
Yes, sir. If anybody from the public would like to speak at this point, you may use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen, or you may dial *9 if you're called in via telephone. All right, first caller ending in 791.
Hi, this is Deborah Buckhalter with the Jackson County, Florida, and I just was wondering if someone could talk a little bit more about that public hearing project, the small-scale amendment. What is the project entail?
It is going to be a land use change from Ag 2 to industrial, I believe.
What is going to happen to the property? Is there a project for the property?
That's not something we have information on yet. So it's only the land use change at this point in time.
So when does that does that information come forward before you make the change, or could you make the change and then find out what it is? How does that work?
They would have to apply with community development for us to know what the proposed project is, and this is not uncommon for a developer to come in, request the land use change first, because they've identified, at least in their opinion, that their project meets the criteria of that land use change. So they request that. If the board agrees with that, they change it, and then they come in and apply for their development.
And one more thing, I'm sorry, I probably just missed this, but what's the time of day for the public hearing on, that is going to be on the June 9th? Is it going to be a morning, like 9:15?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next.
At this point, I see no more hands raised.
Okay. At this point, we'll go to the round table. Michelle, are you on the line? Do you have any?
I'm here. I've got nothing for roundtable.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Willan?
Yes, I have a few things, but I have an answer to your question. So we have, it looks like there would be approximately $66,948 difference between the bid and what we have for insurance. FEMA should cover that amount, with the exception of 12.5%. We operate as if we won't get the waiver. If we did not get the waiver, you would be looking at approximately $18,000. Apparently, they do the 12.5 off of the total project cost. So, if that answers that question.
Okay.
Did y'all have any more discussion on that one?
Give me those numbers one more time.
12.5% of 147,000 would be 18,000 that we would potentially be looking at out of pocket.
And that was item I, right? And 18,000 is the potential.
That's the lowest income.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion on that? Well, we don't. What's the pleasure?
We didn't take any action.
Yeah, we didn't take any action. We didn't take one.
I mean, no, we just held.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I make a motion, we approve the request for citizens lodge bid.
Okay. Do I hear a second? Second. Got a motion by Commissioner Peacock, second by Commissioner Lockie. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign, motion carried 5-0. Okay, Ms. Lorraine.
The next item I have is requesting that the board would set a special meeting for June 9th at 10 o'clock a.m. or immediately following your meeting to discuss motor graders as well as auction items for the Road and Bridge Department.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Peacock. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign, motion carried 5-0.
Real quick on that, is that all of the stuff that's sitting out there in that yard?
It's I can't say that all of it, but it's quite a bit.
I just know that you go by there and there's weeds tall or something.
Yeah, he has quotes. I won't say what they are. I don't want to quote them wrong, but it's quite a bit of equipment. So, the next item I have is I've been contacted by Florida Association of Counties urging us to reach out to the governor's office and joining in support of the Florida Association of Counties regarding the CARES Act. There's some funds that have not been released to local governments that did not receive assistance. And I wish I had it prepared. I didn't get this ready in time, but just asking for the board's permission to write a letter of support. They have a recommended letter saying we agree with Florida Association of Counties that we should have access to some of those funds.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Peacock. In discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign, motion carried 5-0.
And the last thing I have is consideration for the board. This is a request for a proposed alternative summer work schedule. I'm requesting that the board consider allowing county staff with the exception of Road and Bridge Department, who already have their own set schedule, Fire Rescue and Corrections, to consider a 4-10 work schedule for 8 weeks. This would be from June 1 through August 7th, and it would rotate Monday through Thursday for part of the office and Tuesday through Friday for the remainder of the office. And my proposal is that this would be no break in service to the citizens. Our office hours would remain the same. It would just simply be a difference in staggering the schedules and more of a flexing situation for staff. Asking the board to consider approving this and it go into effect on June 1.
What brought that up? Are the employees don't want to work 5 days a week?
No, it was just really based on some other governments have that flexibility, and especially in the summertime, more of just a opportunity to encourage time with family and also working and talking with another administrator specifically. The morning and the afternoon are your lowest working hours, and so his theory is it reduces 20% of that, going to a 4-10s. I'm not proposing that permanently, but for a summertime consideration.
Just want to comment. I'm personally against that, because in previous kinds of incidents, we've made some special accommodations. You try to take it back to the regular schedule, people if they get entitled to, let's stay that way. And I think it'll keep down dissensions. We just let's stay as is. I think.
Do you have a timeline set for this?
My proposal is June 1 through August 7th.
So would you require these employees to sign some document that states they understand that this is a temporary issue?
We certainly could.
Commissioner Lofty.
So you're gonna have crews work Monday through Thursday and Tuesday through Friday. Now, are you gonna have enough? Who's gonna decide I want Monday through Thursday and who's gonna decide I want Tuesday through Friday? You're not being fair. I mean, those issues will come up, and
Yes.
how do you split that? How do you do that?
Well, if an individual department can't manage that, then I will decide it for one, but
And that's not right.
but ultimately my plan is if there is dissension, say this person can't decide, then this person will work 4 Fridays of the 8 weeks and this one will work 4 Mondays of 8 weeks, and they will swap.
You are talking about a trial run.
This summer is all I'm asking for.
Have you polled the ones that are interested in it to see?
I haven't asked anyone about this. This was my idea.
I didn't know if there was
Yeah, I've not, and here's the other thing. If someone says, I don't want to work 4-10s, I want to work 5-8s, the hours of the office stay exactly the same. So there's nothing saying that someone could not continue to work 5-8s.
So if a department has 4 employees in it, 2 of them are gonna work Monday through Thursday, and the other 2 are gonna work Tuesday through Friday.
That's right.
So what if you?
I guess my other question is, what will happen if you had 10 people in the department and 8 said, yes, I would like to do this, and 2 said, I would not like to do it?
Then they would just continue to work their 5-8s. And then you would just have the 4 left that work the split schedule.
Will that be efficient? Is that gonna be efficient? If you have just 2 people working an 8 to 5, 8 days, 8 hours a day, 5 days?
Well, I think that for most of our departments, community development, for instance, you have your team who's still helping the people that walk in the door, but most of your people are reviewing applications and doing things behind the scenes. They're going to be doing 40 hours a week either way.
So what would the hours be for the 10?
I'm proposing 7 to 5:30.
The only concern I have, and I don't know that it'll happen, as long as the citizens have can get what they need done when they come in, or one of us needs something done, but I know that's my concerns. My concerns, and you're talking just the summer, and you're talking about a trial area, trial time this time. It's not gonna happen all the time, I don't.
No, it's not the
That's not the
proposal.
proposal, 'cause
But on Mondays and Fridays, you're gonna have half your staff working. Which might,
One thing it would do is give, when they're not servicing people during normal duty hours, they can get some of these special projects called out.
I can see a plus.
There,
Yes,
I can move, we deny the request.
okay. Okay, we got a motion to deny the request and the second. Any discussion?
Yeah, just a question. Now, again, the staff doesn't know about this besides just a limited few. And how many departments are we talking about?
This would be all of the departments except fire rescue, well, and I'm talking, when I say fire rescue, shift workers, fire rescue, corrections, and then Road and Bridge already has their set schedule. I'm not trying to mess with that.
Any more discussion?
just one comment.
Yes.
I think what we're gonna have is a hodgepodge of different people working different. We got the road and bridge, then we're gonna have some that wanna work 5 days a week, some that wanna work. And all I'm saying is, looks like it might pass, and good luck to you.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Spires, second by Commissioner Lockie. All in favor to deny the request, raise your right hand. Okay, all opposed, raise your right hand. So the motion died 2-3.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve this request.
Okay.
I'll second again for discussion. I agree with Commissioner Peacock that we need something that says that they understand it is temporary. And then I also would say that, Willian, if this doesn't come to the point that there is inefficiency, then you would have to pull that flood maintenance soon. Would hope that don't happen. I'm not predicting that.
If it was causing a negative impact, I would be the first to say this isn't working, and I could put that in the memo. They understand that as we go along through this, if it's not working, we go back to 5-8.
Can I interject something? One thing we need to make sure of is the way the pay period involves too. I don't know if you.
Figure date is June 1st.
Would affect the pay period.
Okay, I will.
Check on that for us.
But I think we're gonna have so many individual requests based upon the individual schedule, the family needs and all that. It's gonna be a monster to administer.
Let her manage it. She's asking for it.
There's no way hours would affect that, right? It'd just be the day it started and ended. Yeah, I'm just saying.
If it's in the middle of the pay period, I mean, it could.
We'll get with y'all and make sure we
So-
implement it appropriately.
Mr. Chair, yes. So you're gonna be here at 7 o'clock every morning and stay to 5:30 to make sure that we have.
I have department directors to manage that. I can't be at every department to assure that.
Okay. We got a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried 3-2.
That was all of mine round Sheila Bader did want me to share with the board that she has received numerous compliments at her office from Mike Taylor, helping the community.
Good deal.
She'll put you in the paper.
Let's get a big head.
Okay, the jail doctor.
Okay, anything else, Ms. Daniels?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Peacock.
I really need, I don't know if Scotty's on the line or not.
He should be.
I'm online. I had a motor grader go down a week ago, a little over a week ago, with a blown head gasket. It's one of those old John Deere's, $25,000 to repair it. So, I can't let my citizens sit out there a month or a month and a half waiting for a motor grader.
Do we have a,
Ma'am.
don't we have an extra? I'm just
They,
saying.
Well, we got 5 down.
We got 5 down?
That makes number 5 of the John Deere's that we've had a major problem with.
So,
I talked to Ms. Daniels today, and my proposal is I have some overtime money. It's a lot cheaper to pay the overtime than it is to pay $11,000 a month to rent a motor grader. Guys want to work overtime. I'm going to make a Friday schedule to cover that missing spot there, you know, in District 5. And if we have a problem in other districts, we'll work on Fridays, pay the overtime, because you can do that for a few $1,000s. But you rent a motor grader at $11,000, you know, and, you know, on Fridays right now, we've got a whole fleet of motor graders parked. So I can put bodies in them and take care of this. So I started today putting a list together. By Monday, by the end of the week, I'll have that schedule and I'll have somebody in it on Fridays. And that goes for any district.
I hope it doesn't rain every Friday.
Hey, if it does, if I have to, I'll get out there and grade it myself on Saturday.
Okay.
I'm gonna take care of it. You know, yes, sir. You got my word. And you know that, like I said, I thought about it all weekend. I'm like, I just can't see renting $11,000 when we've got on Fridays. I'm sitting there, and if I have to, I'll make it mandatory if I can't get them to work. But we've got to cover the citizens, and that's what we're going to do.
I agree. I need somebody grading.
You got them.
Thank you, Scotty.
You got them 5 road graders working in District 2 that's not running them graders? Just forget that. I was just picking at you.
It's the John Deere's. The cat, you know, that's on the lease. Like I said, but that's why I asked Ms. Daniels to set a special meeting. I've got all the updated auction pricing, and like I said, but I got it. I've got a plan to cover it until we can, as I've always was told early in this business, until we can do better. But we can't, you know, like I said, on Fridays, we've got a whole fleet of them sitting. I can put bodies in them.
Thank you, Scotty.
Yes, sir.
Scotty, can I ask a question while he's on the line?
Yeah, go ahead.
Scotty, on the mowing schedule, can you get us a copy of that? Have you definitively fixed one? I know they just come by my house in the Sneeds area. Do you have that schedule so we can?
I'll finish it up, the kind of the final schedule, and I'll get it. Give me a day or so, and I get it all.
Yeah, no hurry. Just by maybe next meeting, just so we can tell the citizens of it. Someone's asking to be nice, just for future reference, to say, well, you could expect the week of or something.
It's looking like we can. Like I said, it's looking like we can make it in 30 to 35 days with no weather.
Okay.
And like I said, I'll get it where it can be published to the citizens or whoever.
That's all 5 districts.
Right.
Yes, sir. I got a crew starting in District 3 in the morning with small mowers, and where Howard has been working, the small mowers will be coming right behind them in the morning, Mr. Locke.
I've heard that before, but good luck to you.
Hey, I'll call you. I told Howard when we get started to call you so you can come by.
Scotty.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget Indian Springs.
I am sure won't. We're gonna send the small mowers in there too. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I got one other thing.
Yes, sir.
Several months.
Yes, sir.
This is not for you, Scotty. Several months ago, I brought before the board about Bill Stanton and JCDC and the $500,000. Those funds are being depleted at about $12,000 per month. We requested a bunch of records. Mr. Rooks, did you get anything?
I've got
Ms. Daniels, you get anything substantial?
No, sir.
I would like to make a motion that we file a lawsuit against Mr. Stanton to get an audit done of the records. That's the only way we're going to get it.
And
Chuck, you sit on the board.
Who's going to pay for the audit?
Well,
What kind of audit do you want?
I want a operational audit.
Okay.
I got a question.
We got a motion on the
It's
floor.
gone down
Do we have a
$100,000.
second or where we can discuss it?
I'll second just for discussion.
What mechanisms, I mean, have y'all reached out to Bill?
We've had numerous conversations. He, did report having a plan in the works. Haven't necessarily seen any material come from that. And then I did try to place a call to him today, and he hasn't called me back yet.
I would feel more comfortable, and I know Commissioner Peacock, this is a motion already made, but I would feel really comfortable if you would reach out again. I mean, I know where we're at, and as far as the money, but again, I think that we spoke to Mr. Stanton here with turning it in, and it seemed like the last conversation I had with you about it, that it seemed like that he was wanting to get that, just hasn't produced it. But I'd like to have at least one more 2 weeks, in my opinion, before I what's
the motion again?
Do an audit.
File a lawsuit in order to get an audit.
I can tell you this, you can deplete a lot more money hiring lawyers, and you can run that right on down, but I'd ask the board if it just give me an opportunity to talk to Mr. Stanton, and I'll report back to you at my next board meeting.
Mr. Lockie, if you're willing to do that, I'm willing to go along with it, but we have given him chance after chance after chance.
I understand, but I think
And when
lawyered
you're
up.
spending $12,000 a month in salary.
But I don't want to lose the lawyers at the same time. I want to get, and I've had that.
I got a question. Only because you sit on the board. Have y'all had a board meeting?
We've not had a quorum, but we have not had a board meeting in 3 months, I think.
Okay, because I know that he said he wanted to have a
Give
board
a-
meeting.
And he is as I understand it, he has a plan to present to our board, not this board, but the JCDC board of how to resolve this issue.
But I think they offered to help him with Zoom and have a meeting on Zoom, but
He did indicate he was having trouble getting a quorum. There may be some health issues or a number of things.
He had some health issues.
Not himself, but the board. I mean, he may have too, but just in general.
In deference to Commissioner Lockie's statement, I will withdraw my motion.
I do need to, I think he needs to come to this board with something. Or your board first, or whatever, but I mean, you
As I
can do
understand
it.
it, there's a proposal being formulated to rectify this situation.
Yes, okay. But like Mr. Peacock, the longer it goes, they keep drawing salary and down.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Spires?
Yes, I get a request from some constituents, who would like to have, no littering signs placed on Parkland Road. And, of course, I do my usual spiel that it doesn't do any good, but they said they would still like to have one placed there, so I'm presenting to the board for your consideration.
I'll say.
What was the road?
Parkland.
Mostly it makes them throw more garbage out, so I'm,
Yeah,
good luck to you on that one.
I'm not optimistic.
I'm not I'm for the motion of them quit throwing garbage out. But if we approve this, we're gonna put signs all over this county. And I know that, and I've had people ask me for it, but that's like putting up more speed limit signs to slow people down. Speed limit. Yeah, I know, but we have a motion and a second, I just want to, I understand, yes. Okay, so we got a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor for the, request, raise your right hand. Okay, all opposed, right hand. Okay, motion failed, 3-2.
Thank you for your consideration.
No, thank you.
That's all that I have.
Okay, Mr. Rooks.
I don't have anything.
Okay, Sheriff? Anybody else?
Danielle said she didn't have anything.
Oh, dang. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
You are.
Okay, thank y'all for coming and hanging in here with us, and this meeting's adjourned.